Well, I'm Carl Rowland with Sherline Products. This video is going to go over how to reassemble your machine after you've received your ball screw with the coupler upgrade. The coupler upgrade, we have two flats on the outside of the ball screw itself and two set screws coming in each side. This is a very rigid setup. It's guaranteed to be much more durable than the original design. When you receive these, after you take the wrap off, you'll notice that there's an O-ring on here. That's to keep the ball nut from threading off. Before you assemble it, the O-ring has to come off and it just pulls right off the end. When you go to assemble this, the mounting plate here has a set screw on one side, which is locking the ball nut into the mounting plate. For the Y-axis, you want to make sure that that set screw is facing up. And you just insert it through the mill saddle. It inserts into the mill saddle. If your distance is off, you can either pull the saddle towards it or you can just turn the ball screw itself in order to get the spacing that you want. So I'm just going to turn it a little bit here to get it up to the mounting area. First, we're going to put the two 1032 screws into the mounting plate. And just get them started. And that's one, two. These are the screws you should have set aside when you took yours apart before you sent it in to be upgraded. So that's loose in there. On the coupler, we have two 832 screws and then a 1032 screw. If you have a Y-axis cover, your 1032 screw, there's a spacer, square spacer that goes in here, and that's to compensate for the thickness of the cover plate that's going to be sandwiched in here. Make sure that you put that back in between your mounting plate and the actual base. So the 1032 screw would go through the mounting plate, through this, and into the base. Okay, I don't have a Y-axis slide on this one, so I'm going to leave that out. Okay, and I'm just going to put the 1032 screw in. Actually, that would be better. This way. Okay, so we have 1032 and two 832s. If you have a gap between, it's easier to line up your screws with your holes. Just get all three of them started. Then you can either turn the screw or just push it down like I just did. Just get it to where they're snug but not tight. That's good. So that takes care of the Y-axis. We'll do all the final adjustment after we put the stepper motors on. This is going to be the X-axis, and again I'm going to turn this upside down to have better access to everything. So the Y-axis, again, you remove the O-ring that's keeping the saddle nut from threading off. It's got the T-shaped mounting block here, and this gets two 1032s on the outside, two 832s on the inside, and we just place them in there to start. 832, 832, 1032, 1032. Again, we'll put it into the hole in the saddle, feed the lead screw through. Okay. And we'll shift this up a little bit. With a gap in there, we should be able to get our screws started. Wiggle it around till you find the hole. There's one. There's two. Something I forgot to mention again, you've got the set screw in the mounting plate right here. You want to have it facing away, down from the mill table, so you have access to it if you need it. Get that guy close, and we just put the two 1032s with washers into the mounting plate. You might have to wiggle it a little bit to get it started. Again, have enough space between both of these so you can get your Allen wrenches in there and work. And I'm just going to put it in until they're snug. I'm going to back it out one turn. Snug. Back it out one turn. Okay. Now I have the 832s right here and here. And we'll get them on. Get them started. And it's going to bring them down until they're snug and off half a turn. Snug off half a turn. And 1032s down the same way. Go until they bottom out and off a half a turn. So those guys are all in. Now we're going to put the stepper motors on. Actually, we'll do this with it right side up. All right, on the mill, I like to have the cables for the Y-axis going off to the right, and for the X-axis coming forward. And that way, when you put your connectors to it, everything's right here in this quadrant, because your tables could be working this way, and you don't have a cable being dragged opposite. It makes it a lot easier to put it all together. On the stepper motor, we have an access hole right here. We're going to turn it until we have it face until we find the set screw, and just turn the ball screw to get access. That guy's in there. Okay. On the stepper motor, we have a flat on the shaft. If I'm going to have it this way, I want to have the flat facing towards me. I'm just going to turn it so it's facing towards me. I'm going to insert it into the coupling. Okay, and I'm going to put my 4 832 screws in and just put them in until they're snug. Just get them started first until all 4 are started before you tighten them down at all. And that way you won't have any cross-threading. Right now I'm going to snug, just get them all four of them snug. Actually, you can 2 of them snug is fine. All I want to do is sandwich it. So this is squeezed together a little bit. At the same time, I want to get my set screw on the flat of the shaft of the stepper motor. So once I feel it make contact, and I'm going to wiggle this a little bit to get it perpendicular to the flat. So that's perpendicular right there, and that's on it fairly snug. I'm going to back it off just a 1/4 turn. Now I'm going to go back and tighten all these down all the way. So now this is fully sandwiched together. So now I break this loose. There's no lateral force on the shaft of the stepper motor. And again, I bring it in until I feel it touch. And I just wiggle the hand wheel to make sure it's perpendicular to the flat. And then I put my cheater bar, my cheater wrench on here. And I tighten this guy up good and tight so there's no way it comes undone. So that guy's set right there. We'll snug this up. We'll get it finger tight on this guy here. Okay, so it still has some movement in there, but it's not so sloppy. So there's tightened. half a turn off, half a turn off. So I still have some wiggle room here, but it's not as sloppy as it was. All right. Once I get it close, now I'm going to tighten my 1032 on my two 832s. Set it up for this. Okay, 1032's tight. 832s are tight. Now again, as I move the table away, it pushes the mounting plate up against the saddle. I've got enough I've got enough backlash in there that as I move it back towards it, I have a slight gap. I'm going to move it into it, right there, and now I'm just going to hold it in place. Okay, so the force is still against the saddle. Once I have enough room for the Allen wrench, I'm going to bring the Allen wrench in and tighten this down. One side, next. That's moving nice and smooth. No binding. So that guy's good. And I'm going to do the same thing on the x-axis. And my sight hole is right here. So I'm going to turn it this way. I want my cable out this way, so I want my flat straight away this way. And I've got to turn this guy and get access to the set screw. And I'm just going to turn the ball screw. Right there's my set screw. Okay, set screws in. And I'm going to put it in to the coupler. Put the 4832 screws in. And just get each one started. If you have trouble getting the first thread in, turn it counterclockwise till you feel it click, and that'll be the threads lining up, and then go clockwise. So we got the third screw started, just go in until it's snug, and we got the fourth screw started, go until it's snug. Alright, and then these guys will snug them up, just finger tight. Now we will get the set screw into the stepper motor shaft. And when you start to feel that it's closing in on the flat, wiggle your hand wheel back and forth as you're tightening down the set screw. So that's perpendicular to the flat. I'm going to back it off a quarter turn. Then we're going to tighten all four of the 832s down all the way. Okay, they're all good and snug. Okay, now again, I bring it in, wiggle it, and tighten the set screw a little bit at a time. Right there is good and perpendicular. Put the cheater on it, lock it down tight, so that guy's not going anywhere. I will turn it upside down so we can see what we're doing. So everything here is still loose. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it all the way up as close as I can. Right about there. Now I'm going to change direction of the hand wheel to push the mount up against it, just snug. Now we're going to tighten down the mounting bracket. One 1032. So both 1032s are tight. I'm going to leave the 832s for right now because I can get them as soon as I get the whole thing aligned. I'm going to bring it towards it again, bring the saddle towards the mount again. Then I'm going to move it away. Okay, and that locates it aligned with the stepper motor right there. I'm just going to push it back till I have access to the two 1032s. Right about there should be good. And I'm going to tighten these guys up. And one snug. So right now we're snug. Feels good right there. All right, now I'm going to tighten them all the way down. That's good and tight. Feels good. Ball screw looks good. All right, now I'm going to flip it over again. And I'm going to finish tightening the two 832s are in the middle here. Everything's tight. It's nice and smooth. Good to go. Both of your cables are inside here in the same quadrant. So you're ready to hook it up and put it through the paces. This is how to assemble your new ball screw with the upgrade in the coupler. All right, when you get it, you'll notice that the coupler is much bigger at the bottom here. It actually locks directly into the larger diameter of your ball screw. There's two flats on either side of the ball screw. It's no longer connected to the smaller threaded area with the taper fit. So this is a direct drive. The taper fits are inside within the framework of the bearings, so it runs nice and true. It's very rigid. So when you get it, you take off the packing, you take off your rubber bands or whatever we have holding it on here. I think it's an O-ring we'll have on here. And then you just reassemble. So for the reassembly, this is a 2000 style column. Tilt it up like so. When you look at your adapter piece here, it has a set screw in it. When you put this together, you just want to make sure that the set screw is facing towards the back, and all you do is guide that in, okay, and then guide your post into the top of your bed. And there might be you might have to adjust up or down a little bit, move your saddle a little bit to get the alignment correct on this. It's easier if you just turn the ball screw. If you have a big gap like that, just turn the ball screw a few times and get rid of your gap. And then all I'm going to do is take the screws that you took out when you sent it in to us and put them back in. And you want to put these in and just go finger tight only for right now. Everything's finger tight, and then when we get the alignment correct, then you tighten everything down. So these are the two 1032s with the washers on them, and they go to hold on your adapter piece. And I'm just going to cinch these down to about a turn away from being all the way snug. Then we have the 832s in the top. That's these two guys right here. And again, get both of them started. Don't sock one down before you get the other one in there. There's a little bit of play up here. There's a little bit of play here, and that's intentional so that we can get these two systems right here aligned properly. Again, we bring it down till it's Just finger tight. Now what I'm going to do is put the stepper motor back on so I can use the hand wheel on the stepper motor. And what I want to do is turn my ball screw until the set screw is facing my access hole right here. And that's pretty much where it is right now. And take one 3/32 Allen wrench and put it into the set screw and the coupler. That guy's there. All right. You want to have your power cord of the stepper motor coming off the back of the machine, of the column. So you want to turn your flat so it's facing you along with the access hole with the cable coming out of the back. And then all you do is set it down in there. Okay. We'll get one or two of these started. And these are your 4 832 screws that actually mount the stepper motor to the stepper motor mount. And again, these are just finger tight. And now what I want to do is, I'll put it this way. I want to wiggle my stepper motor shaft as I bring the set screw in to make sure that I'm on the flat. It should be, if this is the flat on your set screw, you want the set screw coming straight down on the flat. You don't want your shaft off to where the set screw is coming in at an angle, or it's just going to work its way loose. So when I wiggle it, once I've got it, I'll back it off just a hair, and you can see where I have wiggle there. Okay, I'm basically tightening it until I find the middle of the wiggle, and that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm just going to break it, just loose it, just a hair right there. And now what I'm going to do is tighten my 832s all the way down so that sandwiches this entire unit, and then I will tighten this down all the way. So now we'll tighten these guys so they're all good and snug. Put this guy back up here. Again, I'm going to wiggle it so it's there, and then use a little cheater wrench. Suck that guy down good and tight so he doesn't go anywhere. Alright. Alright. So now this whole assembly here is good. Okay, you move it up and down and it moves nice and free. So now what we're going to do is align the top and the saddle portion here, and then sock it down. So I'm going to move it all the way up. Once I bring it up to the top here, this guy here should be able to be locked in place. It's not going anywhere, so that should be set. And that's good and tight. Now I try it again. This is still moving nice and free. And if I go down a little bit, and I loosen these a little bit more, what you'll see is I now have a gap between these two. And as I go up, there's a gap there. As I come back down, the saddle's got enough friction that stays in place, and you'll see that this part is moving freely right now. So it's free to align itself with your entire assembly that's up top here from your stepper motor. So what you do, make sure there's no, you got just a little bit of play there. You're going to bring it down until it touches right there. Put a little bit of force against it so that that connection stays the way it is. And just move it down enough so that you have access to the top of the screws. And now you're going to snug these guys down. So I would go to that guy's snug. That guy's snug. And now move it again. Feels nice and smooth. I don't see any wobbling here with the screw going in and out or anything. So that's all looking good. Now I'm going to tighten these the rest of the way. And they are good and tight. And we're still moving nice and smooth. What you do when you get this assembled, you put it on your machine, hook up your Z-axis, run it up and down, make sure it's nice and smooth throughout the entire distance of the travel. And then put an indicator in your headstock, put it down to the table, and see how much backlash you have. If you have excessive backlash, it's not truly backlash because there is no backlash to speak of in the screw. If it looks like you're getting more than a thou backlash, then it's generally because your gib for your Z-axis is too tight. If you tighten this down, it'll actually, if it goes too tight, it acts as a brake. So you can actually lock this column up entirely just by having it too tight. So what you want to do is, if you have more than a thou, loosen the set screw right here, tap the other end of the gib to get it loose, move it up and down, push it back in until it's just a snug fit, and then check your backlash again.